It's time to get the show on the road. Hello, friends. Hello, renegades, patriots. We have a really special show for you today. I got a call earlier today from our favorite candidate for governor, Louis Herms, and he says, I got some big news to share with you. There's some big things happening, and we need to be aware of it. And I thought, well, what better time to do a show and get people informed? There's been a lot going on, as we talked about on our show yesterday. For those of you who joined us, it's literally like a fire hose, but not just one. It's like several fire hoses now of news coming out, and it just so happens so quickly. I look at from week to week, from show to show, and it feels like a year. There's just so many things that have gone on. So it's just one of these things that we're in this period of very quick changes. And Louis is going to bring us the next step of what's going on in his world and get us up to speed on what is happening. It's really interesting to see, from my perspective, I kind of watch all the feeds and kind of watch all the news. And then you could talk to somebody like Louis who gets a little bit of a behind the scenes look at things, and he could bring a new perspective on things that I'm late to the party sometimes on seeing because just the way it shows up. So we'll have a good show for you today. We have a lot of things to talk about, and I'm looking forward to it because I know I'm going to learn something too. So without further ado, let's see if he's ready in the background here. He's in the green room right now having it's hair and makeup time. I got it. All right. Cool. All right. We're ready for you, Louis. Come on in. Louis Herms, everyone.
Yep, I didn't have time for a meal, which seems to be commonplace now. So I just drank a protein shake, and it's a little bit chilly in the office. So now I'm making a hot tea at the same time.
You have actually a machine to make tea on your desk? That's awesome.
Oh, it is so cool. I wish I could. Well, I could show you the pot portion, not the machine portion. So there it is.
Oh, pretty.
And it's got a little electric stimulator right there. Boom.
You have to unplug that from the computer so you can plug in the mouse.
No, but you know what I do is I have a heater and this. It sucks so much amperage sometimes that I have to. My battery backup, thank goodness I have it. It yells at me saying, "Stop doing that."
That's right.
So
the voltage has dropped.
Then I know better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So real quick, I have a. Hold on a second. I apologize. I have to finish off my tea, Robert. Yes, we're live. I don't care. We're about as authentic as possible. I'm just adding a little bit of healthy sweetener into that.
There, we'll just let you guys enjoy this poster. Kind of fun that when we play with AI, 'cause some people hate AI. I kind of love it sometimes, and these kind of things just light me up. They're so much fun.
That's a cool one. I wish they could have turned my dog the right color, though.
I know that was the only thing. I put in the right dog breed, but I didn't get the right color. So
it's all right. All right,
we can fix it. We can update it. All right, welcome in, Louis. Good to see you, my friend. It's been a long time. It's been almost 45 minutes since our last chat.
I think that's about right.
What do you have for us? What's going on? We've been hearing a lot supposedly going on with elections in Maricopa County and Arizona, and DHS and FBI and Epstein, and it's a fire hose of stuff.
Well, if people have watched our shows in the past where we consistently would do a few a week, actually,
right?
They probably would have been clued into a lot of this stuff was going to happen. And at full authenticity, you and I used to get frustrated because we knew what was going on. But not just the mainstream media, but a lot of the social media and platforms wouldn't pick up on this stuff when we talked about it. And there's one famous podcaster that you really like out there that he would always seem to be about 6 months behind the narrative.
Yeah.
So we would always say, call it out in a nice way. But what's happening now is, like you're saying, you're drinking through a fire hose right now on all the information that's coming out. All the stuff that we've been talking about for several years, and not even predicting, but intimately involved in. So, for example, is in I believe it was the election certification of 2022 in Maricopa County. There were patriots were holding rallies out there, and I said, okay, I was just God said, get your butt over there. So I just put a little post out there, and I said I'm going to be over here at this rally, and then we're going to go into the Board of Supervisors certification meeting that they're talking about. And I was shocked. About 70% of the people in the rally came there based on the post that I made, which at that time that struck in me of how much influence we have in people that are willing to do the work. So there's a lot of podcasters that they have a lot of influence in people, or a lot of numbers, but we were thrilled to find out that we actually have people that are really willing to step up and do something. And that meant a lot more than a million followers, right? Getting active is really ultimately what it comes down to, which was exciting. And then I went to the Board of Supervisors meeting, and when I was there, I noticed that Stephen Richter, the guy that was supposedly doing this to certify the vote, he would kept indicating these 280,000 ballots that they were processing in a different way. And I know the kind of there's a satanic ritual that they always have to tell on themselves. I didn't get that at that time. I got that as those were the ballots to focus on. And sure enough, so I spoke at the Board of Supervisors a meeting, and then I brought up and I turned to the audience and mentioned to say, these are 280,000 ballots that you need to pay attention to. Something's going on here. And people kind of got glossy eyed. They didn't know what I was, and it's not because I'm super smart. It's just because I'm super pay attention. And I was listening to what the direction they're going. And sure enough, a few months later, that was the unit of ballots, the exact unit of ballots that they went after and started investigating. And then from that, going out there, I met a lot of people, and then I ended up creating the film Cages, based on human trafficking. And the reason why I targeted Maricopa County so hard in Arizona is because for two reasons. Number one, I had a lot of sources there that can give me information. Number two, it's like a middle-sized state. And I knew if I did this about the whole United States, or if I did this about the whole world, what would come from that is people would say, well, you can find it anywhere. But I knew if I could get it down to, say, one county, that people are going to say, okay, if that can be there, it's probably going on everywhere.
Right.
It's like a reverse psychology where it makes a larger impact by showing the micro versus the macro. And sure enough, during my investigations, I determined that the Board of Supervisors that were stealing and covering up the elections were probably not doing it just to keep Trump or Kari Lake out of office. They were doing it because that was their human trafficking apparatus that they were protecting, is what it seemed to me at the time. And I was told that in Maricopa County that they're for a long time that they've been doing investigations into there. And I've been warning people over and over, stop playing the Democrat versus Republican game. Maricopa County is 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat county supervisor.
It didn't matter.
Evil doesn't put a letter next to the name.
Yep.
It doesn't work that way, right? So the Republicans run cover under the fact that they have an R next to their name, right? And then the Democrats blame the Republicans. It's a game going back, and it's a deflection game, but evil is evil. So let's just put an E next to their name, evil. And sure enough, when Trump came on board for a second term, a contact I had, they said, just so you know, they're going to use Health and Human Services and DHS to start going after child traffickers. Right now, the DHS went in, as many people know, They just went in and they raided Maricopa County Election Board today, this morning, which we kind of knew that this was going to happen. Um, I think some people leaked the information. They probably shouldn't have leaked the information, but regardless, that's what happened. I'm not saying that that's for trafficking, right? What I what I am saying is that these elections will lead to trafficking. And it's very important for us right now. The reason why I've called for this conversation for you and I to have today, it's very important right now that everybody out there start hammering on the Epstein files and the trafficking and so on and so forth. And I'm going to let you talk in a moment, but then I will give afterwards. I'll give a reason why I think President Trump's not involved like people are trying to implicate him in. And I'm not here to defend him. I'm reading the tea leaves, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I think I know exactly what's going on. So that's the narrative that I wanted to establish is right now is the time, and I'll give some reasons and evidence of that, where everybody needs to get out on social media and tell all your friends and family members because their ears are going to be open bigger than they ever were before.
We're seeing that already, Lewis. There's a lot of normies, if you call them that, that all of a sudden are taking notice. These Epstein files have come out, and pretty much every person that's in the music industry, in Hollywood, in politics, somehow, some way, their names on this list, and people are like, no, that can't be, no, that can't be, that can't be, and it's kind of waking them up. And obviously, just because the name is on the list doesn't mean they necessarily did anything nefarious, but sometimes it's guilt by association. And like I told Bruce yesterday, I said, I'll go speak at an event, and I'll go stand behind the stage, and people will line up to take a picture with me. I don't know who the people are. I never met them. Who knows who I'm taking pictures with? And just because you're in that proximity doesn't necessarily mean you've done anything bad. So in my case, I reserve judgment on a lot of this stuff, but at the same time, it all has to come out. It has to be exposed. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but Kash Patel said this case was so badly handled, the Epstein case, the files are so badly messed up, and they're using that as the excuse for why there won't be any prosecutions.
Yeah. So here's what I think's going on, and we're gonna dive into it right now. Um, I think what President Trump, Kash Patel, and Bondi are doing are a psyop, and I think it is to pressure or put the public in a position where we, the people, are crying and demanding that we get the information. So how do they do that? It starts with it went in stages, in my opinion, but let's fast forward to where Bondi was asked a question where President Trump was sitting next to her about the Epstein files, and he put his arm over, shut her down, and answered that question. I would go as far as that the reporter that asked the question could have been set up to ask the question.
Hmm.
And President Trump intentionally shut Bondi down and said, there's nothing to look at here. Let's stop focusing on this. There's other things to look at, knowing, think about this, who would be most upset about that and want to dig into it,
His base,
right?
no question. Yeah.
His base that voted for him
Mm-hmm.
for this disclosure.
Yep.
That's one. So that would be at least half of the Trump supporters. Who is the other people? Every single Democrat or person that voted against him
Yep.
would now want to look at this. So now what you have is you turn a narrative immediately where less than 25% of the nation is interested in this to 75% of the people being interested in this.
Wow.
He's not a stupid man. So that's a calculated move, in my opinion, in order to get everybody to focus on it. Part one. Part two is then he goes on social media and berates his own followers for even daring to speak about Epstein and lock onto that as if we're some Q-tards, right? Think about that. Gets them even more fired up. So then these 75% is now really motivated because they're like, now we have to prove him wrong, right? It's genius. This is art of war, clinical art of war, in my opinion. And it goes the same thing. So what do? They put out a Kash Patel to say these things, where now people are going to be more fired up. That's not true. You can't say that they're all too messy in order to prosecute. You know why, Robert? Because you either got a damn video with somebody raping a child or not. That's not that's about as clean as you get in an investigation. So that's absolute BS. And then when Bondi is saying, no, it's just I just don't see that we're going to be able to do this. But what does she do at the same time? And this is art of war, in my opinion. At the same time, she gives a whole bunch of Congress people access to the unredacted files in a skiff.
Yep.
And then and this makes sense. Somebody said, "What if?" And I call it a pixel. What if she threw a pixel on there and she can detect immediately what you're searching for?
No, they did.
So if
Every
you're
one of
searching,
them, every one of them got their own computer. They got their own
exactly.
login. They tracked everything. Nancy Mace was the one who figured it out because she's brilliant
There
in
you
that.
go.
Yeah, and then she said everything you looked at, and there were, and the other piece to it, Lewis, which I think is fascinating. You don't give anything to Congress that you don't want leaked,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then what happens is for the first time in history, you get a Lauren Bobart and a Nancy Mace coming out publicly
Yep.
and saying this is the most disgusting thing we've ever seen. Pretty much the world is run on pedophilia. This is a satanic agenda here. We're talking about eating babies. I mean, these are sitting Congress people that are now talking about this publicly, what we've been disclosing for a long time. This is appears to be an absolutely controlled operation that's systematically going exactly the way it's planned. So, real quick, the reason why I would say give President Trump and even Steve Bannon some breathing room here for a second. Here's why I would say. Number one, the Epstein situation, and I believe the disclosure I made on Resnick, P Diddy, and the Clintons, and all these situations have one thing in common. The primary goal here is not raping child for their sacrifices, right? That is ancillary because they know that they're dealing with people that are willing to do that because they have their separate satanic agenda. What this is about wholly is compromising very, very powerful people. So when you have the films on them and you have them in certain places, they now will do your bidding. This is a Mossad type operation, probably CIA operation, some other ones involved. And I'm talking about the P Diddy, uh, the P Diddy ones with what's his name? I said Resnick, and that's not the name. Uh, Burkle, Burkle, P Diddy, and Clinton. That's my speculation. Allegedly, that's what I think was going on there. That's what's going on with Epstein. Don't forget, there's Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, Nexium, and Les Wexner connected to all of this stuff. This is about compromising people so you can use them to forward your evil agenda, your globalist agenda forward, where you're puppeting very powerful people, right? So, why am I saying that? Of course, President Trump's name's going to be all over these things because they're doing everything they could to try and suck him in and get him compromised. Yet you don't see, except for fake AI and fake reports, anything to do with him on the island, right? Very important to know that. And I've read a little bit about the Steve Bannon stuff. And the reason why I'm temporarily going to give him a pass is because it appears that he's listening the whole time and not participating in these conversations, which means maybe he's a bigger part of the story going forward. I don't know. But I just, people should know. And by the way, nobody's come to talk to me. They've not asked me to say any of this stuff. These are my conclusions. And my conclusions are also remember, they had an opportunity to take Trump down in 2015 before he even got elected because they knew what his agenda was. They would have released all this information back then. They had it.
They had it. They
This
had it
is
all. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is why. they had it so they can compromise people and control people.
Hmm.
They didn't release it back then. So you have to ask why they haven't done that. In in addition to that, we have to really look at what their goal was, and their goal was always compromising. So President Trump was the first one to come out and talk to the FBI, and the FBI actually said, some of the good FBI, that he's the only one that gave us information and was open about what was going on. So you need to put these pieces together. The other thing I want to just mention is the day and the day after that the 3.5 million pieces of information on the Epstein files dropped, what happened? Immediately, there was a old case about President Trump that was released.
Yep.
There was notes about this. There's compromised pictures about this. There was fake AI with him doing stuff. Boom, 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 boom,
One
boom.
after another. Yep.
Because they were holding this because they knew inevitably this stuff's going to drop, and they needed to deflect from it. That
Yep.
should be a huge indication of what was really going on.
And then all of a sudden, you had what, 6 countries say we've got a cure for cancer
There you go. Yes.
out of
Uh,
nowhere.
and and they're talking actually Alzheimer's and diabetes right now also,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I've been reporting on diabetes for forever.
Yeah, we know it
That
can be cured. We know it can be reversed. Type 1 and type 2 can be reversed, right? And it's like, here you go. All of a sudden it comes out. So how is it connected to Epstein? Is it just another distraction? Have us focus there? Look, groundhog, look over there.
Yeah. Well, let's look at what else is happening. You have several states now looking to ban chemtrails, which we were told we were conspiracy theorists 2 years ago when we said chemtrails are real. Go figure. How's that work exactly? But now governments are banning them. We have two states, Georgia, I'm sorry, was it Alabama and was it Georgia? Alabama and another state, may have been Florida, that says now there should be a death penalty for raping children, right? This is the direction that we've needed to go the whole time. And now it's all coming forward. At the same time, people are learning that Minnesota and California and the corruption that's going on there is a lot bigger than anybody imagined. So what we have going on though, which is really disgusting, and I know people get mad at me when I say this and I don't care. What we have is the news media focusing on a, a lady that was supposedly kidnapped that just happens to be the daughter of a famous lady named Guthrie, who happened to have her husband was the cleaner, the fixer for the Clintons, right?
Yep.
But so what is the news media focusing on? Fox News, you're complicit at this
Oh,
point.
yeah, no question. Yeah.
You've got 2 weeks straight, 24/7 coverage of this one person when there's 500,000 people or children that are missing. How about the 33,040 children or 42 children that were recovered and missing in Minnesota that Tom Holman reported on? Where would is I'm sorry, is 3,300, sorry, is 3,340 children recovered not more important than one lady missing? Am I missing the boat here, Fox News? Right?
You're
This
missing
is
it
why
for sure
we,
because they can't report on it, Lewis, because if they were to report on it, then they have to report on all the children that are missing and are still missing, 500,000 plus or whatever the number is, crazy number, right? And that's not even a real number because we know that some of these children
no.
are born, no birth certificate, and they disappear right away. There's no record of them and no record of them ever existing.
So I was just on the phone with Laura Worley. She's such an amazing person,
Yeah.
and she's always enlightening me a little bit more information. And she reminded me today that the way this trafficking works with the elites, so they have their MK Ultra trafficked children, right? And then they have all the other trafficked children. They mark the MK Ultra trafficked children. And the reason why they do that is for the satanic pedophiles not to kill those children because they have too much invested time and money into those MK Ultra victims.
Wow.
This is the way they think. So it's like, we understand that you have to kill children. That's part of what you do. That's fine. Just here's a mark. Don't kill this one. Feel free to abuse this one. Do rape them. Do whatever you need to. Just don't kill this one. We have way too much invested into this child. That alone should be enough to understand the mentality
Jeez.
of the people that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And I was, you were just involved in a meeting that I just had. I said, we need to stop sugarcoating this stuff and telling things the way they are, not the way we think we would want to sugarcoat it and have it be. We need to be honest. We need to be straightforward. And I just called a huge meeting. We had, I think, well over 50 people on that call. And it's time right now for us to go out there. And if you have a We the People candidate that's actually talking about the Epstein and talking about the child abuse and been talking about it for years and doing something about it, you guys need to do everything you can to get that person's name out there. It doesn't have to be me, whoever that person is, but they're literally fighting for the children and we the people. This is when we need to activate. There's no better time than right now when this is finally in the public purview to go. Do not let this opportunity go to save the children. Take up, get on social media all day, all night, and be promoting the candidates and be promoting the people that have been telling you the truth for a long time. It's not self-serving. It doesn't have to be for me, but find somebody that you can rely on that you believe is telling the truth and get this information out here. This is our opportunity to do what Robert and I talked about a long time ago. You have to go from this, then you get 2 to 3%, and you start to get critical mass. But when you get critical mass, you can lose critical mass if you don't keep forwarding the message. If you keep forwarding the message, then you get what we call through the momentum phase. When you get to the momentum phase, it is unstoppable for the baddies. And at that time, we won. This is our time where we, the people, can make the difference. And again, January 20th, 2017, President Trump, in front of a military contingent, told everybody we handed it back to the people. Now it's time for us to take this football over the end zone line and win. We cannot drop the ball right now.
We're just at that precipice where it switches from, a battle into momentum phase, and we're right there. And this is what we're starting to see. And I got to tell you, the baddies are going to do everything they possibly can to try and cover it up and put it back under the rug. And we can't allow that to happen. And
Nope.
you did a great job on November 8th, exposing that and talking about it. And your competitor there, Steve Hilton, who didn't talk about it at all, not a word, all of a sudden was kind of forced into a corner to start talking about it. But I mean, he doesn't know anything about it because it's not his topic, right? It's not where he's been. He's been on Fox News. He's a commentator. And this is not a topic that he's strong at.
Well, many candidates aren't strong on this topic. And they're not strong on the medical mafia topic, and they're not strong on the parasites that have controlled things for 3 reasons. One is they could be compromised, so they're part of the problem. Another 2, they're just uneducated about it, which I say is probably possible. Third, and most likely, they do not have the courage to go after these 3 most important topics, and because they're afraid of the backlash from that. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, then you do not deserve to represent we the people.
Well, the backlash is a scary thing because you don't really know who is involved, right? It could be your best friend, it could be whatever, and that's the kind of thing that's getting exposed right now. And of course, they're going to fight to the death to make sure it stays covered up. And it's a scary thing when you don't really know who your enemy is. So you see them, and that's just a sign of weakness as far as a leader goes, as far in my view. If you're not willing to step up in the face of, these horrible things that are going on, who needs you? Move on. We have enough of them.
And your enemies are likely closest to you,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And
Yeah.
and I know it's going to hurt a lot of people to know that, but let's just look at history. The most trusted people in your circle was probably your doctor. How did doctor handle you during COVID?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ask your question that. And that was probably the most trusted person in your circle,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes attorneys are the most trusted. How did that work out for you? How about the Republican that you voted for that turned out to be a rhino? How did that work out for you, right? Don't idolize anybody. You got to evaluate every. And so I said on stage, I think it was December 10th, and I said, guys, because they're very upset because a moderator, how dare he ask Chad Bianco about kneeling for BLM, and they went after the moderator. I'm like, wait a second. I said, no, 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 guys, everybody is on the stage to be vetted, myself included. I said, you cannot be putting somebody in an office that we cannot trust.
Right.
We absolutely, do you not want them to be vetted? Is that what you want? Silence. The whole audience was silent because it's true. Ultimately, we should be vetting everybody to the highest level we possibly
Yeah, we
can.
really should, and that has to happen. And it comes back to always what you say, we the people, and we the people. The number one skill that we need right now, more than anything, and we don't have it as a society, is discernment, the ability to see through the BS and see what's real. And it's harder now with AI. My gosh, some of the videos that you see, I'm guessing now 30% plus of the videos that I'm seeing online are AI, and they look so good, hard to discern anymore. But it's testing our muscle right in that area. We gotta see that what the candidates are putting out there. Is it true? Is it not true? Does it make sense? Is it congruent? Is it authentic? Right? And you start asking those kind of questions, you blow most of these guys off the stage in 5 minutes, right?
Yep, because authenticity is going to rule the day. I
Yeah.
think it is right now. People have a craving for it, and that the reason is because we've been lied to for so long.
Yeah.
And now we are absolutely being lied to by AI. And that's what I think people need to understand. When you're seeing a fake video AI and somebody puts it out as real, that's a lie. That's not just media, that's not just fun, it's a lie, right? If they're going to say this is AI, or we produce this video for fun, that's great,
Entertainment,
right?
exactly. Yeah, no
But
problem.
when
Yeah.
they put it out as truth,
No,
it's a lie.
they're crossing the line.
So
Yeah.
we have to have that discernment for sure. But we also have to realize, I believe, that our discernment has been intentionally attacked for hundreds of years. And how do they do that? The bad guys, if you understand historically in their semblance of pine cones, they understand that's the pineal gland. So they've understood the way the brain works a lot longer than we have in our short 50, 60 years of life, right? They knew, some of the ancients understood what the pineal gland was, and the pituitary system, and how we resonate our discernment. And some people would say this is our direct connection to God. So there's been a strategic attack on our discernment for many years, and that would be fluorides, and that would be chemicals, and that would be bad foods, and that's marketing messages, that's false narratives. It's pushing people down, it's making them work too hard. All of this stuff is an attack on our natural discernment, right? And I'll go as far to say as I believe one of the reasons why the continent of Africa is so desolate and impoverished, and they're living in the desert without food and electricity and so on and so forth in many sections, is because I think naturally people with higher level of melanin have, for some reason, more discernment, more rhythm to that. So they capture things that some other people won't have. So
Right.
what's the best way to suppress them is make them have to do everything they can just to find one meal a day and a glass of water, and then you don't have to worry about them. So how do they do it with us? They do it with us through bread and circus, right? So everything's about suppressing our discernment. When our pineal gland is clear and we're clean and we're not subjugated to all these extra messaging, guess what? We get that God spark back, and we start to have resonance and learning and understanding right away what we're seeing is not real. And we're in what I call the true awakening, where that's what the real awakening is. How we can, me personally, get in touch with Christ, right? Have more discernment, and then move forward. And it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, and it's challenging for some people. We were talking about this with one of our people on our team last year. I was having that conversation, and one of the things you see is that people will hear something in the media, and they assume it to be true, and once they take it on as that, Their discernment's gone. Now they take it on as true. Now you come with them with even all the facts in the world. They will not change their mind. They've made up their mind about something. And this is the hardest thing that we face. It's like, no, you've been lied to. I know, but I bought the lie. So I'm going to defend the lie because that's what I now believe. And it doesn't even have to be true for the media to say it. All they need to do is, pin that badge on somebody, and all of a sudden there's a portion of the population that will buy it, and you can't change their mind about it. Dirty game.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And it's a lot easier to convince somebody of a lie than to convince them that they've been lied to,
correct.
um, because they're invested in it. And when they're invested in the lie, it's also an attack on their ego, and pride comes into play. And pride very often prevents somebody from turning around. In fact, people ask me, what's the best way to wake people up? And I always say I use the Socratic method of questioning, right? So if we can question somebody, they will tell themselves the truth, but they may not tell you the truth because their pride won't allow them to do so. But it's okay. Plant the seed and walk away, let God water it, and the work will be done, right? We don't need to get the truth out of them. Just ask them the question, let them answer it in their head, and then we move on.
Yeah.
We spend too much time trying to convince people when we have to trust that the messaging is correct and we're doing the right thing.
I try to teach people that on social media too. And instead of getting into a direct argument with people who don't have this sham belief, you want them to believe something you believe, is you don't argue with them. You ask them a question. And 9 times out of 10, they don't even respond because they know they can't answer it. And that's it. You just leave it there. And then what you'll often find is I could put the question there, never come back to that post. Other people will answer that question, right, in the way that you want them
Exactly
to.
right.
Yeah. So you
Exactly
never
right.
come at them head to head because you can't win that argument. But let
Yeah.
other people do
And
it
I
for
say
you.
the same thing with my supporters on social media.
Yep.
Just ask people questions. If they're making a statement and you ask them, well, how exactly does that work? Or why would you do this? Or why would you support
Yep.
somebody like this? Don't you want the best candidate? Those are and it's amazing because they're like, and every once in a while they'll come back and they'll be like, I didn't think about that way, and
Yep.
you got one.
Yep. No question. And the more we can do that, the more our messages will get out there. And this is for everyone too. Your social media, you think, I don't have an impact. I don't have an impact. Your one comment on a social media post is very impactful. It helps the
Mhm.
algorithm, right? And you comment on something Lewis might post, or I might post, or anyone else. You want that message to go out there. If you like, comment, or share, the algorithm goes, "Oh, this is people are responding to this. Let's show it to more people," because they want more people to stay on their platform longer, and they want to
Mhm.
show you only the best stuff. It's a little bit. I explained this, the Jerry Seinfeld effect, right? Jerry, when he does HBO special, every single joke is a home run, right? That didn't come out of him sitting in the back room just coming up with ideas.
No.
That came out of years of being in front of small audiences and comedy clubs around the country, testing this and testing that. And he takes only the best. And then when you go see the show, that's what you get. So social media works the same way. The only thing they want to feed you is the best of the best so that you stay engaged longer. So how can you help? Like, follow, share, comment, right? Any of those things help.
Yeah, so I discovered a while ago because you used to even tell me I'm fighting against the algorithms. I need to work with the
Yep.
algorithms. And so I started to do some study, and I found out, and I've been saying this a lot lately, that a comment from a person with one follower is just as powerful as a comment with a person with a million followers,
Correct. Yep.
right? Because people are going to read those comments. If they resonate with the comment, they forward it or they respond to you, and you get pushed up on the algorithms with inside that post or that thread.
Yep.
So we can all make a difference here at a level that we've never been used to making a difference. Is there still going to be suppression? Yeah, heck yeah. There's so much suppression for our accounts. We've done the math on it. We've gone and we run our own algorithms and tests on it and see it, and it's fine now. I don't. It's like whatever. That's their game. Let them play their game. We're going to keep fighting forward, and we have a lot of strategies to permeate this. It hard, and do you feel like giving up sometimes? Of course, but you know what? True triumph is doing something long enough that's uncomfortable when suddenly you win.
I want to just reframe that a little bit because people think it's hard now. No, what's going on in Iran is hard. And we could be there if we don't step up
Mm,
now, because that's where we're
great
headed,
point.
right? And it's easier to fight the battle at this point when they don't have 100% control like Iran does over their citizenry. It's better for us to fight that battle now. So yeah, it's if you're sitting on your butt and wondering what you can do, get in the game. It's time. It's late, but get in the game because we don't want to go further down this path toward communism because that's where it's been heading. The globalists want to take over. They want to have absolute control. They want to take away all your freedoms, and then you won't be able to fight back.
Well, and I would ask people, would they prefer a democracy or a republic? Because there's a lot of talk of a democracy, and let's talk about where that leads to.
Hmm.
So a democracy is everybody votes. Let's say you get 51% of the people to vote for one person, then that person is suddenly a dictator because they get to do what? Whatever they want.
Yeah.
You've already put them in office, you gave them the full power to do that. And then that dictator starts to have challenges, and when the people want to rise up, what do? They have to buy them off. So now that democracy turns into socialism, right? The socialism starts to fail because there's no bank big enough to ever support a socialist ideology and within a country. Therefore, then they go to communist dictatorship and they start selecting who should get what, and then that's not working, so it goes to totalitarianism, right? And then it falls for the weight of the people finally rise up and do something about it. So I never want to hear the democracy because it's not that. The beautiful thing about a republic is even after you put somebody in office, even though these people are being put in criminally right now, we have to work on that, you still have an opportunity to hold them accountable to a principal set of guidelines that they're supposed to act with under. And that's why a republic is so important, and a democracy will always fall under the weight of itself.
Yeah, when you look at California, one question I ask about California is like, why does California never have a budget surplus, right? They tax us like crazy. I mean, $700 to register your car for the year is crazy. It's $35 in other states, right? And you look at all the taxes that we pay, and it's never enough because what's happening is the money just gets laundered, right? It gets redirected. It's not going to where they say it's going. And there will never become a point, even if they taxed you at 90%, they still wouldn't have enough money unless we deal with
Well,
the
they
fraud
can't. Well,
issue.
well, here's what it is. I call it WARF. It's waste, abuse, redundancy, and fraud.
Hmm.
Right? There's four sectors that we need to focus at, and they're not all equal. Right? So you have waste. So what intrinsically happens, and I just had a conversation with somebody about this. What happens in anything is when it's subsidized, and that's really what a government is doing, is it's a subsidy. So when somebody just gives you unlimited money. In fact, I had this conversation with somebody yesterday over the way campaigns spend their money, and they spend their money willy-nilly, right? I spend the money as if I'm governor, how I respect the people that are giving me the money to make sure I get the best bang for the dollar,
I know who you had
right?
that
That's
conversation with, by the way.
right. So those conversations are very important, right?
Critical, yeah.
But so what happens is I respect the people that are giving me the money. Our government does not,
Right.
or our government employees do not. That's where the waste comes in, right? Because they don't care. They're like, oh well, it's easiest. Oh, look at that. My best friend is selling a desk for $1,500. Let's buy that one. Although I can buy it from the store down the street for 300, doesn't matter.
Yep.
That's part of the waste,
Well,
right?
accountability is not there. They're spending somebody
There's
else's
no
money and they're not
accountability.
accountable.
There's no accountability.
Yeah.
Government accountability is an oxymoron,
Doesn't exist. Yeah.
right? Yeah, and then you have the abuse, and the abuse is selling or purchasing that desk from a friend. That's abuse,
Yep.
right? And then the redundancy is what they tend to do, and this is where people really need to focus. Is what happens is government contracts and government money that's spent goes into certain sectors, and they understand I get $150 million a year for this sector, right? But they're told if you're under budget, we're going to readjust that for the next year. So then what do? They do wasteful spending or redundancy, and they hire 3 or 4 people for the same job so they can justify that $150 million. Because God forbid they run a tight operation and only spend $90 million, right? They're afraid that they're going to lose that other 60. That's disgusting. That's the way government is run across the board. And we need to have checks and balances and accountability throughout the whole sectors to prevent that. And it's really easy. All the solutions are simple. People don't have the courage to push it as far as it needs to be pushed. So
I think you see that a lot of people go into Congress as an example, and they have their bright-eyed, and bushy-tailed, and they get up there. We're going to make changes. We're going to make changes. And I think you see people like MTG who literally just got frustrated. I think that's really what happened there more than anything. It's like you can't make any changes. The system is too big, and that's not necessarily truthful, because if you look at what's going on right now, yes, it's an iceberg. But we've been chipping away at the iceberg, and all of a sudden, some of the sides have begun to fall. What does that mean? Well, we keep chipping away at it. Soon that iceberg is going to sink. We're going to be able to get through it. But it takes time. It takes patience, and boy,
you
a
made
lot of effort.
you're making a phenomenal point here. And I don't know if this is intentional, but so what happens in construction, you have a demolition phase often, depending on what it is. And you don't take down the whole wall at one time or the whole ceiling at one time, but there are certain sectors that you can chop away at, knowing that that's going to relieve it and the whole thing's going to fall at one time. Same thing with the wall, same things with the way you take down a foundation. You don't break the foundation all at one time. You hit certain weak spots, and then a lot of times it falls under its own weight. And I believe that's what you're indicating. And what we're doing is you hit these certain sectors, and now instead of that one chip becomes a big chunk that slides off the iceberg, and then another and another and another. So we just have to stick to it. We are encumbered by over 1,000 years of this underhanded governmental type abuse. Over 1,000 years. This is not overnight.
Yeah.
So to expect that we're going to take this down like that is not true. But to have the wherewithal to stick and the stick-to-itiveness to keep going while it's chipping, you're going to see bigger chips and bigger chips. Think about this. Very, very small chip in the child trafficking conversation. 3.5 million files were released. That's a big, huge chip, right? That's a whole big, huge sector that just fell, and there's a lot more to come.
Another 3 million pages apparently are still outstanding.
2.8 from what I've heard.
I heard, yeah, so close to 3 million. It's crazy.
And they're saying, oh, there's nothing there. Okay.
I think there's more there than we'd like. Yeah, and
and that's why you haven't given it to us, because there's nothing there.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And why is it all redacted? If you're letting it out, let it out. Hello. Stop with the redaction. Stop getting the games. Let's go. Yeah.
Yep.
No, we'll get there. And it's just a matter of being patient. And, I think the feeling in society today is, why can't we just grok it? Why can't we just have Grok fix everything? You know what I mean? It's just like, no, it's our work. We got to do it. AI is going to be good, but it's not going to fix everything for us. And, playing the political game is what we need to do. We need to keep pressure on those people who we elect to leadership. New York is kind of learning their lesson now. They put that guy in there and they see the disaster that it is, 1 month, 2 months in already. And they're like, what happened? You were sold a false bill of goods. You believed it. We were trying to tell you, don't do it. They didn't listen.
Yep.
Yeah.
True that.
Thank you for joining me today, Louis. I know your time is limited with us today. I appreciate having you on the show, and for all you watching on SBG, thank you guys. Lots of love to all of you, and we appreciate you being part of our little world. And Louis, we should do more shows on your channel as well. Maybe if you have interviews you want to do or something, we'll help you with that. Get those done. People want to know what's going on. They want the campaign update. They were real excited about the poll that came out the other day with you tied with David Mercury for 25%. Get this, people, the poll was about who most resonates with California voters in Northern California, which is the bluest of the blue of the state. And Lewis tied for number one with David Mercury at 25%.
Exactly.
That's
Which
insane.
means
Yeah.
that means that even though I have very conservative policies, when you just talk policies only, and you're not putting a dollar amount to it or a face to it, people are mad at are go, oh, well, that makes sense. That, and this is what I've been saying from, I said this well before we even went on the campaign trail,
Yeah.
that what's most important is the education process of we the people, because and they're starting to grasp it, and we're getting so much momentum now. We're very excited about it.
Yeah. Well, you're resonating with them, and that's really what's important. And it's doubly important when you think about that survey was done in Northern California. It wasn't San Diego. It was Northern California. San Diego is much more conservative, but up there it's really bright blue,
Yeah.
So that's fantastic.
And that was a survey of over 5,000 people.
Yeah.
The only poll close to that was 1,000 people, and that was an internal poll. So we don't really know what the truth was on that one.
Yeah. Normally they're 300, 400, 500 people. Sometimes you'll see 800, 1,000 occasionally, but this was 5,000 registered voters too, which is interesting.
Yep. Across the line.
Right.
That was really cool.
Yeah. So you're doing the right thing, my friend.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Robert. Thanks for hosting this today.
Appreciate you as well. And thank you all for watching. Lewis, thanks so much. And we'll be in touch real soon.
See y'all. God bless.
God bless everyone.